did when you how quick of a fan did you how quick of a boxing fan did you become at the age of 6 after watching that Sugar Ray Robinson fight? Were you an instant boxing fan after that, or was it a gradual thing? Like, how was your experience into becoming a boxing fan?
Well, my mother was a big Robinson fan, and
Oh,
she
really?
told me before that fight, she said, "You're going to be watching the best fighter in the world," and on that basis, I recognized quality when I saw it. He had trouble with Olson. It was a tough matchup for him, but I could see what my mother was talking about in terms of grace and skill and footwork and all that stuff. I was already a sports fan, watching football and other things like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I pretty instantly became a Robinson fan, and I got very interested in a lot of other fighters who were appearing on Gillette Friday Night Fights, um, and most especially Emil Griffith, who was a frequent headline attraction on Friday Night Fights in 1961. I watched Griffith Perret and learned one of the hardest truths about boxing. In 1960, I watched the Rome Olympics on television and saw a middleweight Olympic gold medalist named Cassius Clay, and fell in love with him for a variety of different reasons. So it was a constant, ongoing learning process, and I remained a boxing fan through all the years that I was watching it on television, even the years when I was working at ABC and never ever expected to get in front of a microphone and call a fight.
Okay. And so I know later, as you mentioned, you covered all sports. Was boxing always your favorite sport, or?
Well, I wouldn't say it was my favorite sport. It was one of the many sports that I treasured. That experience in 1955, when my mother sat me down to watch Robinson and Olson, that's the first sports event that I can specifically remember watching. I know I had probably seen snippets of some other ones, but there was the whole articulated reality of her saying, "Your father would do this if he was here. You're going to watch this. These are the reasons you should be interested," etc. And Cassius Clay became my favorite athlete for a variety of reasons, among them being that he was using a slave name to taunt the white establishment on behalf of the cause of civil rights and equality, and I was deeply attracted to that. But there are other markers in there. In 1957, I remember very specifically a party my mother had at our house where we watched on television and listened on radio at the same time to the NCAA basketball championship game, which was the University of North Carolina versus Kansas in Kansas City. And that night, the University of North Carolina Tar Heels beat Kansas to win the national championship, beating Wilt Chamberlain and completing a 32-0 season. It's very rare, as you know, for an NCAA basketball champion to finish the season unbeaten. I watched that. It was 1957. I was just about 8 years old, maybe a few days short of 8 years old. It was the first time I was allowed to stay up past midnight. It was the first time I ever tasted a small sip of Budweiser beer. So
Did you sneak it, or was it given to you?
it was given to me. There
Who,
was a lot of
who?
celebrating going on, and one of my uncles said, "Here, if your dad were here, this is what he'd be doing." But the same kind of thing. And so I became a huge fan of college basketball and
Okay.
stayed up late at night many times listening to University of North Carolina on the radio. And then when I was 12 years old, my mother moved us to Miami. And so I moved to Miami in 1961. And I was still very, very much a boxing fan. I remember watching Griffith Perrette specifically in the den of our rented house in Miami.